Justifiably proud, what's your emergency?
I don't know what I've been living on, but it's not enough to fill me up. I need more than just words to say. I need everything this life can give me. Hey, yeah. 'Cause sometimes it's not enough. Ow! Come on, baby. Close your eyes, let go. This can be everything we dreamed. It's not work that makes it work. Oh, now let the magic do the work for you. 'Cause honey,
Welcome back to Justifiably Proud Productions. I'm your humble host, Jim Farrell, and I am excited and glad to be here with everyone today. Today's a beautiful sunny day here in South Texas with some drier air. It's a fantastic, beautiful day outside today. And I would just like to remind our listeners that in the event that you have some feedback for us or know somebody interesting that you'd like to hear on our show, please feel free to reach out to us at justifiablyproudproductions@gmail.com, and we will certainly entertain all inquiries. This week is a special week for us. We launched our first episode with an interview, which we thought was pretty fantastic. Went really well. It was big country leadership, talking about education and the first responder. And we're going to roll right into this week with another interview that's going to bring awareness to something special that's near and dear to one of our local firefighters' hearts. And we're excited to spread this awareness. And again, we're trying to talk about things that typically, being the tough guys in the business, we typically don't want to talk about. So here we go with this week's What's the Word interview. Give me a what's the word?
What's the word, man?
All right, folks. Well, our guest this week, it's Super Bowl week, and our guest here at Justifiably Proud Productions is he's a driver in a local fire department here in the Rio Grande Valley. He currently holds advanced structural firefighter. He's a hazardous materials technician. He's also an instructor, but most importantly, he's a husband, a father, and a son. I'd like to welcome Noel Barajas to the show here today. Welcome, Noel.
Good morning. Hello.
So what do you think of the studio? You like it?
It's beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. We didn't have to put much effort into it, but it's coming along nicely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, so welcome to our show. I don't
you.
know if you know much about it, but we're just trying to share things that typically we don't talk about in our particular professions, the hard topics, and I understand that you have a story. Well, we've discussed it. You have a story you'd like to share. But before we begin, I'd like to just show you an image and just tell me like the first thing that pops into your head and what your thoughts are when you see this image.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that says same circus, different clowns,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But that's pride right there.
Yeah, for sure.
That is pride. All
That's
right.
the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what changed me.
All right. So tell us, I understand you have some awareness you'd like to bring.
So for the most part, I think a lot of people forget. Every year we have our October cancer awareness. We have November for cancer awareness for men. So a lot of times we don't think of the little ones in our lives, and September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So that's why I'm here. That's why I want to be a voice, I guess, and if I need to be, I'll be a face for that cause. Just for the fact that my son is going through his treatment currently. Still, we're going on 2 years of his treatment, which is going to be in July of this year. So we're a year and a half pretty much into it. So that's why I'm here.
Very good. So your family, you get married, you got your career going, everything's going good. He's your firstborn.
Yes.
and he's stricken with some childhood cancer.
So I'll start off as so when the pandemic happened, he was out of school, and my wife was at home for the quarantine, and he had a few episodes of it's hard to explain. He was lethargic, kind of mumbled his words a lot, and he would snap out of it for he would be in that little state for about a minute or two, and then he would snap out of it, go back to his normal self. So he had been on ADHD medication prior to that. So we always figured, and the doctor said it could have been a side effect of the medicine. So we tried different types of meds for that, and he always ended up getting those little episodes. So when we were in quarantine, my wife was in quarantine, those things happen a lot more often and a lot closer to each other, those episodes. So we spoke to the doctor, and they're like, before we prescribe you another month or another medication, let's figure out what's going on here, because it doesn't seem normal, and it might not be a side effect. So with that, we went to the doctor, and then we went to get him a EEG. He had a seizure, EEG. During that, and then he had an MRI, and so that all happened during quarantine, and we had a scheduled appointment to get the results of the MRI, but I was on shift, and I really didn't want to go to the doctor. So the doctor called me when I was on shift, and he's like, "Look, well, I have rather have you come into the office, and this is why." And he tells me what he found. He was a small tumor in his brain, and that's when my heart sank, and I really had I was at work. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say anything to anybody because it was so new. So I went through the whole shift with that in my head and my heart. So the next step was to figure out what we were going to do with that. And then me and my wife started calling our doctors. They referred us to Driscoll and Corpus, and in a doctor in Houston. So we finally, after that was a Friday. Let's see. We spoke to the doctor in Corpus on Friday. They were going to have anything available. Monday, we spoke to the one in Houston. They were going to have anything available to like another 2 months. And like knowing that is inside your child's body, your head, in their head, I wanted to do everything I could possibly do to get that out. So we got a call back that week, and I was on shift again on Wednesday, that they had an appointment for us at Driscoll and Corpus. So I called my wife. I told her, we need to get this going. And I was on shift, so I had to talk to the captain and tell him, hey, I'm going to take the rest of the day off. And I hadn't told anybody yet what was going on. So before I left the station, I told everybody at the station what was going on. And I had, from the moment I told them about it, I had their support. I could see the faces in the reaction in their faces. And they started asking me like what we needed to do or what they needed to do, or what I needed, so they could help me out. And at the time it was so new, nothing was, we didn't know what was going on. So I left shift. I told the captain, this is what's happening. I don't know how long I'm going to be out. What's going to happen? So the next day we went to Corpus. The lady said that the doctor said that she could get him settled and have surgery on that Friday. So it was like Friday. The next week it was Monday. We were trying to get a doctor. Wednesday, hey, we could see you. All of a sudden, we could have the surgery on Friday. So it just happened so quick, and that's when, the tumor was removed, and then from there it went to testing. So he had his recovery there in Corpus. We came back home, and I was out of work for from that moment. So it took about a good month before we had any results from the tumor. And then they finally called us in July, and it told us the results of the tumor, and that he needed continued treatment. And that's when we started getting a hold of people in Houston. We needed a place to stay because this treatment was going to be about 8 weeks long. So he was going to start radiation treatment, chemotherapy, and all that stuff. So from the moment we took off to that appointment, I was out of work for like about 4 months.
So how old was your son when this was?
He had turned 6. That was April, May, June. So April he turned 6. May we went to the doctor for the MRI. So he was about 6 years old.
Reflecting back, do you think it was maybe a blessing that COVID was there because you wouldn't have caught all those symptoms? Yeah.
So that's something that me and my wife have talked about. We don't speak too much about this stuff, but yeah, that's one of the things that we look back on. We've said that quarantine was kind of a blessing in disguise for us, because I mean he had those episodes at school, but they were so far from each other. Like they weren't like frequent. So when she was at home, she was able to see all those. And maybe he would have had it at school, but nobody may have picked up on it, you know?
They wouldn't have been as focused as your wife was during that time.
So yes, 100%.
So you're out for 4 months. You're able to handle everything. That's not the problem, but the problem is now you're back at work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're still dealing with the recovery aspects of this.
Yeah.
So what kind of support system do you have to help you?
So 100% from the get-go, my faith I've always been big on my faith. There was a moment when I remember when all this was happening, what we figured out was what they found. I remember getting in my truck and I had a quick thought of how am I going to deal with this? And it was a very quick thought because I've always stood on my faith. I've always had that's always been something about I grew up with. So that thought was quickly, trumped by my faith. The thought of my faith, a reminder of my faith. So from the get-go, prayer and just that of my faith. But from after that, I would say the support from the brotherhood of the fire department was there, and I've always heard that word brotherhood thrown around very loosely, and I saw it firsthand how much the guys from work stood up and had my back. So
that was the first time you felt like true brotherhood.
I mean, I've been fortunate to be at the station I've been at for however long, 10 years. And I there's the friendships that I have, the relationships I have with certain guys that are more than that. They're family. We've been part of each other's lives for that long time, and we've seen each other grow. We've been part of each other's lives for a long time. But outside of that, the other guys that stepped up that I didn't know that for that long. So yeah, this is the first time that I've seen everyone stand up and have your back and stuff.
So I did a little bit of research on childhood cancers yesterday, and there's several. But were there any other organizations that helped you? I mean, maybe financially, or any associations or anything like that?
So there was a few. I know that we got a check from the Mission Police Department Association, and I don't know how they found out. I think it may have been my wife's family's from Mission, so I don't know how they found out. We didn't reach out to them or anything like that, but they gave us a check when we started our treatment. The association that we're part of, they started a GoFund account whenever my son went to surgery, while he was in surgery, and it was it was hard to see that. Like, you always see those GoFund accounts being shared online. So it was very hard hard in the way that it's you that they're sharing and they're spreading awareness about. But it was very heartwarming knowing that the guys from work are doing that and sharing that and spreading the I guess the cause for you. So that they did that. My wife's cousin did a fundraiser for. She would sell stuff online on Facebook, and she did a fundraiser for us. I'm not too sure who else. Can't really remember all of them.
And did you say you had to do some stuff at MD Anderson up in Houston?
Yes, so we did. We took off in July. We were there at the end of July through August, and we came back in some part of September. So we did. He had his radiation treatment, and he had chemotherapy.
So I know, like for adult, and this is just again to share awareness, and maybe it's something that needs to be something that people need to pursue. But like when firefighters get diagnosed with cancer, I know that the IFF helps a lot.
They help out also,
and there's some organizations up there that provide housing and things like that.
Yeah.
But on the child end, is there anything that you're aware of that?
There's a lot of
that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of programs. I think there's no specific that we found for child. I mean, I'm sure there is.
They just approached you.
Yeah.
The ones that did help approached you.
Yeah.
They got to kind of find you.
Yeah.
Because of lack of awareness.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared with us today what you did, and you know, you're justifiably proud. We're always looking to support any of those types of things. So if you ever hear about any organizations that you'd like more recognition for, or awareness for, we'd love to be a part of that. You know, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, man.
Everything as far as the recovery, everything is going as expected, or are there hiccups?
Hiccups? No. I mean, I'm very blessed. I know that this has all been very hard for all of us, for my family and for my son. He just goes with the flow. Like we're going to the doctor. We go up there every month. We go, the beginning of the month, we go for his blood work to make sure everything's all right. And then every other month we do an MRI. Everything's been stable. There hasn't been any difference in what was left of the tumor. But I'm grateful that he's still, you know, himself. He's never really changed. He's always had.
He's still able to be a kid?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Very much so.
That's great.
Sometimes we got to tell him to calm down a little bit. Actually, no, every day we have to tell him to calm down. It was scary because the week we came back from his surgery, he was jumping around like normal, and it's like you just had brain surgery. Like he didn't realize it, but he would get up and he would be really close to the corners of the what's it called?
Tables.
The tables and the chairs, and like he didn't care. Like he was still himself. So I'm grateful for that. He's still growing. He hasn't been in school just because of our situation, but we plan to put him back in school soon whenever we get back to McAllen. So
let's jump into that a little bit, right?
Okay.
You probably don't want him exposed to a lot of what's going on out there. I mean, do you have some insight for those that?
So my biggest thing, so there's a lot of layers to my life for the last 2 years. There's what we've been dealing with, or what my son's been dealing with, and then you have a pandemic going on, you know, and you have masks, and you're required to wear masks. Then they what's it called? You have to go on with your life with the pandemic and with a child that their immune system isn't as strong as most children, or anybody else. But it's hard. It's hard to deal with everything. To come to work, and then you go to calls. So it's hard to protect yourself when no one else is protecting themselves. I mean, if that makes any sense. So I do my best. I wear my mask, even 2 years into this. My son did get his vaccine. So I feel a little bit better about that. But I mean, it's
twofold. You got to watch that you don't bring it home
exactly
to him.
Yeah, exactly. And then
you got to watch who he's around with.
Exactly. Yeah. So
because inconsiderate people may spread it to him, or know.
He has no contact with anybody else aside from us, his grandma and his uncle. But when we're gonna get back to school, it's my worries are gonna go up, and I'm gonna be up more than I already am. I'm gonna be worried about that. But I'll put it in God's hands and hope for the best. But he needs to go back to school. Like,
sure. He's
a little boy and he has all that energy, and he needs to get back to doing little boy stuff. So so it's hard to come to work, and a lot of people don't really people don't care about this pandemic anymore. And it's not necessarily here at work, but just in the world, and people don't care anymore. They're tired of it, and it's hard to deal with what you're dealing with at home while people have that mindset. So I try my best to protect myself, but we'll just deal with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, finally, I'd like to ask you something, and I hope that it's not putting you on the spot, and I'd really like for you to be truthful and honest with me. Rams or Bengals?
Oh, I would like the Bengals to win.
Yeah.
Just because they're the Bengals, right? Matt Stafford.
I know. I want him to win so bad, man. I love when people win the divorce.
Yes.
That's But then at the same time, I like the underdog too. So my feeling is that Burrow and his team will have plenty of opportunities to win.
Yeah, for sure.
But if Stafford and OBJ can win, it's going to be huge. So
for sure,
I'm with you.
I'm hoping for 1-4.
I'm hoping for a 7-1, a 7-1. So
I think I have a 1-4.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Very good. Well, Noel, thanks for joining us today and sharing your story. It takes a lot of courage to come on here and do that, and if there's anything we can do to help you, if you ever have any future endeavors, when your boy gets better and maybe you want to be a part of something bigger, we'd like to help be a part of that too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Make sure you tell the boys downtown that I said hello and I'm thinking about them. All right, man. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.